What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Kyle Kelly live on the Blue and Gold YouTube page with a lot to discuss on this Thursday afternoon. Hope everyone is doing well. Watching us live, watching us back, whatever the case may be, just appreciate you for making us a part of your day. Please hit the thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. If you are new here, we definitely want you a part of this blue and gold community. Kyle, this continues to be a time where it is slow in the world of Notre Dame football recruiting, but also we have some big things happening at the very same time. Just kind of one of those weird ordeals, dude.
Yeah, that's just the spot we're in after Deuce Knight, Notre Dame's surprise quarterback commit, visited Auburn last week. Reportedly was also on Ole Miss's campus, although that
Just
is,
diving right in, Kyle. I love it.
yep, more so unconfirmed at this point. But I know you have some thoughts and maybe a few details to share on the Irish signal caller in the 25 class.
Yeah, and we will get into that in just a little bit, Kyle. First wanted to go to which we do have a few things to discuss. We're going to talk the 2025 class rankings. We're going to talk Deuce Knight. I didn't want to open with that just because as more people filter in, I'd rather it when more people are here, and then so we don't have to. The comments will inevitably ask about it. Bart says, word up from Canada. Who's your favorite Canadian recruit? Will Black. That's an easy one. And I do want to say real quick with my setup today, this green light behind me, it shines brighter when it's plugged in. So I have the cord there, and I'm standing with Mike Goolsby on the cord showing during the shows. Okay? Cords matter. Okay? So the cord is there for now. Okay. Kyle, the 2025 rankings saw a shift when it comes to those team rankings with all of these schools getting commitments recently, and Notre Dame has not had a commitment in a little while. I think Jayon Blair and about a month ago now was the last commit for the Irish. So Notre Dame was in that 5 to 6 range, and now they are right down to 11 outside the top 10. Kyle, okay, their rankings, team rankings, it's not that big of a deal. What is your reaction to this though? Like, is this something? Is it nothing? Because we're gonna talk about Deuce Knight. Can't believe I'm saying this, but he could leave the class, and then it's not like Notre Dame has a ton of targets that they might add on top of them. On top of the class. So, Notre Dame's quest to get back into the top 10 might be pretty difficult here, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're pretty much just banking on some of the lower guys, lower rated guys in this class. Kind of starting with, I think once you get down to Maddie Augustine, these guys in the class getting bumps with a strong senior season campaign. I know Notre Dame thinks pretty highly of all these guys, and most of these guys towards the end of the class, although they are consensus or industry ranking 3-star or 3 stars, at least one service has them rated as 4 stars. So a lot of these guys get bumped up. That's certainly going to help Notre Dame's position in the standings. But it's not going to help if Deuce Knight leaves the class because he's Notre Dame's highest rated commit. I think, what is it here? Number 54 overall player. Sorry, number 38 overall player in the class. So, and I think the other reason why Notre Dame might be faltering in the rankings is because they really haven't had a lot of action. Like you kind of started out by saying, from the month of June, their only commitment was Jayon Blair. So brings them to 11th in the although they do have 21 commits, a lot of other teams have caught up. A lot of other teams have caught fear on the recruiting trail. So now it's just a matter of Notre Dame closing on those top targets that remain on the board, and pretty much the only two public ones we know right now are Madden Faramo and Nathaniel Lusu Boateng, who are both top 100 linebacker recruits. And then, kind of hoping that all the four primary media services see what Notre Dame sees and bumps up their ratings throughout the season.
Yeah. Brandon Logan's another one. I mean, he's not going to be a rankings differentiator. With On3, Kyle, can you click on the national rank right there? Click on that 11. So let's see for On3's industry ranking. Kyle is producing his first show, by the way, so we're very excited about this. With me having a baby in October, I got to know Kyle can produce one of these shows for when I take some time off there. So you have 16. So On3's class rankings right now takes into account the 16 highest ranked guys, which with Notre Dame having more 3-stars at the back end of the class, that's another thing that has kind of made them fall, is because other schools with, more higher ranked guys near the bottom than Notre Dame, that's going to hurt the Fighting Irish there. So Notre Dame with 21 commits, that blue chip ratio is a little low right now, with 9 being 3-star players. So that's a part of it. Yeah. It's I talked to a source about this, Kyle. You want to know what the word they said about this 2025 class right now for the Irish? The word was turbulent. And I think that was this is just it's a rocky time right now. And look, Mike Goolsby calls me the eternal optimist. So I'm gonna throw out why I'm okay right now. Just a couple things. All right, so now let's just we'll slide into the next discussion of Deuce Knight, right? And I'll talk about him specifically in a moment. But why I'm still okay with Notre Dame's class right now, even if Deuce goes, is twofold. One, still have a really talented group at the top of the board, right? And they have a lot of 3-star guys, like your Gordy Solsteds, your Elijah Burrises, your Dom Hulocks, like those guys, lower ranked, but really have the chance to hit. Cree Thomas is a 3-star, Ethan Long, like Ko Okia, some really good football players to go along. Like, I think Notre Dame will hit on some of them, maybe not on some others, but at the top, and we're going to talk later in the show as we transition from the 2025 kind of updates here to fall camp, and then we're going to discuss, hey, who are the guys we're going to be talking about this time next year as true freshmen? Some of the names, Kyle, there's some really talented football players committed to this team. Like, if you scroll up, like at the top of the commit list, you got the number 2 overall player per On3's committed, right? You got Jayon Blair, an elite safety who picked Notre Dame over FSU, Michigan, Penn State. Mark Zachary, huge recruiting get over Michigan in Cincinnati. James Flanagan's a freak. Dallas Golden is a stud. Picked Notre Dame over Georgia and Clemson. Chris Burgess, committing to Notre Dame, over Ohio State and Michigan. There's some really good players in this class. And one recruiting class does not fill out an entire roster. There are lots of players that make up a football team. It's not just one recruiting class, so my second point on this is you still do have a pretty darn good young quarterback in CJ Carr. And personally, Carr's on the table. I'm more of a Deuce Knight guy. If I had to pick one of the two, just to be completely honest, this with the upside, maybe it's Goolsby. Goolsby's brainwashed me. But the upside of Knight is just so immense. But CJ Carr is also a pretty talented signal caller. So in terms of actually, Kyle, do you have something you wanted to add before I dive into something else?
Yeah, I was going to say the thing that I like most about this class right now is Notre Dame's dominated the Midwest in the 25 cycle, which they're going to need to do annually. under Marcus Freeman, as we've kind of found in Deuce Knight's recruitment, that it's becoming increasingly more difficult to pull a guy out of the South like that. Now, obviously, they did it with Dallas Golden from Berkeley Prep in Tampa, but you look at guys like Mark Zachary, Christopher Burgess, James Flanagan, Owen Strebig, like these are some of the premier prospects in the Midwest. And I think that's going to be where Notre Dame's got to tap into in years to come. That's where the foundation of these recruiting classes are going to have to come, is in the Indianapolis's and Chicago's, and as we found in some past Notre Dame classes, St. Louis as well. Christian Gray,
Yeah.
Jeremiah Love, Gabriel Rubio, like a number of guys. So that those are going to be the true breeding grounds for Notre Dame, as they, no matter what the year is in recruiting, they're always going to have to succeed in recruiting the Midwest.
Yeah. And then in terms of Deuce and kind of where things stand, look, this is very much a thing where it depends on the day. It depends on who you talk to. But I will just say this for the YouTube audience, you can definitely find more at bloomandgold.com. And Kyle, I'll pop this on the screen real quick. Our $1 for 2 months offer using the promo code UND1. I'll say that I'm losing optimism. It's not looking too promising right now. But I will say that if it's this time this week, if it's this time next week and do still committed to Notre Dame, I think that's a pretty good sign. But I'm losing optimism, but it's very much like trying to read in between the lines than anything definitive. That is the biggest thing I can say right now, is nothing is definitive on this, but we'll see. We'll see. So, Kyle, let's move on to some better things, if you don't mind. Camp started yesterday, and folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. And I would also like to remind everyone that college football is back, and Kyle Kelly was just at practice yesterday. We're gearing up. We're counting down the days until the Fighting Irish take on Texas A&M, and you are going to want to get swagged out for year 3 under Marcus Freeman, which is a biggie. And that's where we're going to bring in the sponsor for today's show, HomeField Apparel, which is a fantastic clothing line based in Indianapolis. And you're going to want to check out their Can't Miss Kickoff 2024 campaign, which is a month-long campaign which delivers on gear that you're going to need for the football season. So make sure you go to homefieldapparel.com to check this out. It includes a football box that's going to launch August 9th. That includes coaches' jackets, bomber jackets, champs week, and more, all sorts of kind of cool things there. You're not going to want to miss this football box specifically, which contains 3 never-before-seen items for your school that are not available anywhere else. It's curated so Notre Dame fans have new gear to wear all season long. So you're going to have something to wear when you're sweating your sack off this month to when it gets colder later this year. The Platinum Box VIPs receive exclusive additional items like a new hat, a ringer, a koozie, plus 20% off and early item access. HomeField sponsored us for the 2023 season, and give me a second. I love their stuff. You guys know this was like my favorite thing that I got from HomeField last year. Let me go full screen here, Kyle. This Notre Dame tennis jacket was like, it's my favorite. Wore it all winter. So definitely a favorite of your boy Mike Singer. So you're going to want to check that out. That I have one of their shirts on my weekly rotation. Actually, just wore it to a birthing class last night that I was at with my significant other, but my better half. They also have a wide range of available colleges, so pick up some Notre Dame gear for yourself. And then if you happen to have a Purdue fan or whatever the case may be in your life, you can pick something up for them as well. It's a great time to shop at HomeField, so make sure you check out HomeFieldApparel.com and use the promo code BGI, which is good for 15% off your first order at HomeField. Again, that's promo code BGI, which is good for 15% off your first order at HomeField. Super chat here from Fravel Edits. QB is obviously key right now for recruiting, but wide receiver is way bigger need than quarterback for this class. Our quarterback room, even without Deuce, is in a great spot. Yet you got a really good quarterback behind him. But yeah, Deuce is also a really good passer. Drop the sponsor link in the chat. I can do that. So I'm gonna post the Notre Dame stuff and then also the can't miss kickoff link as well. So you guys have those two things. And do you even tennis, bro? I do tennis. Not as much lately, but I do. Cal, you still doing okay over there?
Yep, it's your show to produce from here on out.
I got it. So you were at practice yesterday, like I mentioned, and thank you to our sponsors, HomeField Apparel. And loved your post on the message board about some different standout freshmen and your notes. So I just want to give you the floor and hear from the top freshmen. Like, give me 5 names, like who looked really good yesterday from those true freshmen. And I definitely want to hear specifically about the summer enrollees, guys we have not seen before in a Notre Dame uniform.
Yeah, so just to kind of start out to set the scene, I would say this year with Notre Dame's practice schedule, they gave us the first practice full availability and a little bit new structure this year where only each outlet is only provided 2 cameras. So in the past, we would have a photographer and then 2 videographers, but this year we only had 1 photographer, and I was our solo videographer yesterday, so my hands were full through the first 5 periods as when we're allowed to gather video. And during those first 5 periods, I'm focused on the Riley Leonards, the Howard Cross, the Xavier Watts, Rod Hurd, Bo Collins, all those types of guys of the world. So I didn't really get to watch a ton of the freshmen in the first 5 periods. And ironically, those first 5 periods are probably the least relevant of practice. Sometimes some like turnover drills to start, some special teams drills. They sometimes will do like a team walkthrough or get into individual position drills, but usually a whole lot, not a whole lot to see during those first 5 periods, which is why they allow us to video it, because we're not really, broadcasting, I would say, much of the team strategy and things like that. So there was about 10 to 15 additional practice periods yesterday. We got a full viewing of the practice. So for the rest of that session, that's when I was able to really key in on the freshmen. The first-year guys, I make sure to clarify, true freshmen wasn't really focusing on many redshirt guys. But the other thing that was different about Notre Dame's practice this year is where they have a seated in the stands. There's a football field right in front of us. We're basically sat at the 50-yard line. And then there's another football field behind it, a second outdoor field. And the way Notre Dame has it structured, it's actually new this year. Marcus Freeman called it 2-set, where basically they had the 1s and 2s working right in front of us, and then 3s and 4s on that second field, which is about 75 yards away. Pretty difficult to see. So obviously with pretty veteran Notre Dame team, a lot of those 3s and 4s are going to be out, or a lot of the freshmen are going to be in the 3s and 4s who are on that second field. So my best look kind of came at a lot of the freshmen who are starting to emerge and crack the 2 deep. And the 2 guys that really stuck out on both sides of the ball, on offense, it's Micah Gilbert, and on defense, it's Kingston Viliamuasa. I mentioned on the board yesterday, I think Micah Gilbert just is the furthest along of any freshman in the class. He's just so polished for a freshman as a route runner and pass catcher. He's a natural wide receiver. And I also mentioned yesterday on the loose emoji board that I walked by Micah Gilbert. I didn't recognize him at first. I didn't see his number. I thought he was Jaden Thomas just because of his sheer size. I mean, he's a big body guy. He's definitely added strength and, really built himself in the offseason. And I kind of also mentioned on the loose emoji message board, I know people are talking about, the wide receiver depth and where the snaps are going to come from. Micah Gilbert is not going to give Notre Dame a choice but to play him this fall. I think it was a little bit similar to Benjamin Morrison a couple years ago. Now, that was a little bit more of a depth issue. And Benjamin Morrison basically kind of started right away that Ohio State game. I don't think Micah Gilbert's going to be getting the nod week 1 at Texas A&M, but I think he's going to see some snaps this season, meaningful moments. Flipping over to the other side of the ball with Kingston Viliamu-Asa, I think the biggest thing with him is even though he was a mid-year enrollee, you can just tell that he came from a well-coached and a very good high school football program in Bellflower, St. John Bosco. He's very tactical. He practices really well, high energy, and you can tell that's one of Max Bola, Notre Dame's linebackers coach's guys. Kingston's battling with Drake Bowen for that starting Mike linebacker position. I think right now, Kingston is pretty much the only guy truly in a position battle to become a starter. Obviously, I mentioned Micah Gilbert, who's trying to get in the rotation there, but I think Kingston is the only guy that has a chance to start week 1 in College Station. Drake Bowen still, I'd say, a couple steps ahead of him, but just the biggest thing, as I said, with Kingston is he does not look like a freshman. He plays like an upperclassman, and it just as he continues to become more experienced and more comfortable in that system, that's when I think you're going to really see him start to thrive.
Okay. What about Gerby? Did you see much from Gerby?
I did. Luckily, we were able to see some one-on-ones that kind of occurred to the left of us. And I saw Gerby go against Logan Thomas twice and then another defensive lineman. Not great reps, to be honest, for Gerby on those 3. And it's not really that much of a surprise, to be honest, because that was Gerby Lambert's first college practice. I don't think anyone expected Gerby Lambert to step on the practice field right away and look like Joe Wall. But the thing that I was most encouraged about with Gerby is his size and athleticism is unbelievable to see in person. He just looks like a different guy. If I'm picking a guy to walk first off the bus for Notre Dame, it's probably Gerby Lambert. He's every bit of 6'7", 315 pounds, if not taller and a little bit heavier in both those categories. And I've kind of driven the Gerby Lambert train to, hype him up to be a potential right tackle candidate throughout the season for Notre Dame. But I will say, diving a little bit away from the freshman class, the way Emil Wagner looked yesterday was pretty impressive. It's probably the best he's looked size-wise and strength-wise since he's arrived at Notre Dame. And it's starting to come together for him.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think that Notre Dame defensive line, the guys that they have up front, namely the upperclassmen, Howard Cross, Riley Mills, and the transfer R.J. Oben, have done him a lot of wonders just competing against those guys every day. It's the type of level guys he's going to be seeing week 1 in Texas A&M and other games throughout the season.
You want to know what my starting 5-0 line is for my Notre Dame dynasty? You want to hear it, Kyle?
Yeah, hit it.
I got Jagasaw, Coogan, Craig. So this is from left to right. Now here's where it gets a little spicy. I slid Wagner into right guard. Shrouth doesn't start.
That's fair.
And then I got Baker at right tackle. And it's been holding up pretty well. They're all pretty similar overall. So, but yeah, I like Wagner at right guard. But that's totally a side note and should not be held with, there's no really weight there. But that is a huge development for Notre Dame. You wanted Wagner to beat out Baker, and it seems like he already has with with just through one practice, which I guess two. You can find more coverage of today's practice at
we got
blueandgold.com and then Friday as well.
see what our buddy said about today's practice on offense. Jack Sobel was covering that. I'm going to do a handy dandy control F and see what Jack wrote about Wagner today. If he.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Emil Wagner took every first team rep at right tackle. So it seems like he on day 2 that he's kind of solidified himself as a front runner for that position.
Yeah. Kyle, shorter show today, but kind of our last topic I wanted to get into is actually, before we do that, Jack Larsson. He's one of the guys that I am higher on than most. Just watching him a lot throughout his high school journey, when he committed to Notre Dame for his junior year, I saw him play as a junior, saw him play as a senior, just kind of watched him. I think that he's going to be I don't know if he's going to be like an NFL. I mean, he probably will play in the NFL. If you're Notre Dame tight end, decent chance of playing in the NFL. But I don't know if he's going to be a Michael Mayer, Cole Kmet, like that kind of tight, like Mitch Evans. But damn, I don't know, man. If he were 2 inches taller, he would be that. So he's just not. But as a receiving tight end, he's really good, and he's more of a willing blocker than people think. So I'm curious for your take on him, and then if you want to talk about the cornerbacks as well.
Yeah, I think those are really the two last key hitting points from the freshman class yesterday. Like I said, it was really hard to get a good grasp of some of those summer enrollee guys because they were practicing so far away. And as Mike knows earlier today, my eyes are bad as it is. So I have to bring some binoculars next time we get that opportunity. But with Larsson, I wrote on the board, I pretty much said he didn't really do anything spectacular, and I don't think anyone's expecting him to at this point. But he's doing all the little things right, and that's what has him in the rotation right now with Mitchell Evans and Kevin Bauman not at full strength. And to be honest, I mean, there might be times throughout the year where there's going to be guys that get banged up at that position. It's just the nature of that position group, the nature of that room, and the guys they have in it. And Larsson's getting those first and second team reps. He knows what he's doing. He's been very effective in catching passes in the flats. And like you said, the size is where it is with Larsson, but he's just a really good football player. I know you've seen him in person before. I got to see him in person a couple years ago, and I think there's still a lot of reason for excitement with him.
Yeah.
And then as for the cornerbacks, that was probably the biggest storyline yesterday from the freshman class. That's kind of what I led with in my story yesterday at Blue and Gold, which of course you can find online. Because Notre Dame is going to need either Carson Hobbs or Leonard Moore to step up this year and play some meaningful snaps. Well, I mean, I guess Notre Dame could technically move some guys around, put Rod Hurd back at corner. They have other options, none of them which are ideal, which is why I think Carson Hobbs or Leonard Moore both going to have to do something to earn the coaching staff's trust throughout these next 20 or so practices, because they just need an extra body in that cornerback room. They have Benjamin Morrison. He's expected to be full strength, the potential top 10 NFL draft pick. They have Christian Gray and Jaden Mickey, who are battling it out for that number 2 spot. But after that, there's a lot of questions. Chance Tucker didn't have his best day yesterday. Mikey Gilbert really got the best of him. And I still think Chance has no pun intended, the chance to be a really good player and a serviceable player for Notre Dame. But I don't think you're at the point where you can count on that, which is why Marcus Freeman pretty much said yesterday in his press conference that he's really going to want to see if Hobbs or Moore could emerge.
My biggest takeaway was that Ben Morrison and Mitch Evans, Freeman was pretty confident. It's like, oh yeah, they're going to be ready. It's just a matter of when. I was like, whew, that is a huge boost that those guys are going to be healthy for A&M. But yeah, like what you mentioned at tight end, and like that's why I've been saying all year that I think Jack Larsson might be a surprise guy that's going to play, might even surprise the Notre Dame coaches, just because knock on wood, that tight end room, the top guys have all had injury issues. Again, knock on wood, and I think Jakob Larsson is just even seeing him in the spring game, kind of like a couple quick outs. Like he looked the part. So I'm excited about him. Kyle, wrapping up the show, I want to talk about which members of Notre Dame's 2025 class are we going to be discussing this time next year? Now, listen, folks. I know everyone is like, commitments mean nothing anymore. But listen, the fact remains that of Notre Dame's 21 commits right now, what, like 85, 90% of them will sign with the Irish, if not higher. So like, let's pump the brakes on that. So I have 3 names of guys that I feel like this time next year, we're going to be talking about them as like, dang, they look really good. And I don't have who's enrolling early even as a factor in this. This is for this time next year, who's looking the best, just physically, athletically, all those kind of things. I got 3 guys for you, Kyle.
They're going to be the same as
You think so? Is Dallas Golden one of yours?
No.
I think no, he's not. Okay. So part of why Dallas Golden is because he is an athletic freak. I think he's pound for pound Notre Dame's best athlete in this class. He's the number 100/9 overall player, number 11 safety, according to the On3 industry ranking. He could play, he could play receiver. He could play like a scat running back. He could play safety. He could play corner. Notre Dame's bringing him in as a corner. With Ben Morrison out, you don't know about the development of the freshmen. I think there's not only a path for Dallas Golden, like make an impact potentially as a true freshman, but also we're just going to be talking about him because he's just a very, very good athlete. I've seen him in person a couple times, and he was dominant as a junior, leading Tampa Berkeley Prep to a state championship. Another, for pretty similar reasons, is Jayon Blair, because at the safety position, Kyle, next year you're going to have no Watts. Rod Hurd's a one and done, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. I think Adon Schuler is going to be a breakout guy for the Irish this year, but still, you have some openings at safety for a guy like Jayon Blair, and he's 6'4.5", 195 pounds, and he can move pretty darn well for his size. So I think Jayon Blair would be one, and then another one, for very similar reasons as the last guys, is James Flanagan. Freak athletically, 6'5.5", 245 pounds, going into his senior year, number 134 overall player, number 7 tight end. And Blair, by the way, is what's his ranking? 126 overall, number 14 safety, On3 SMS, 51 overall, number 3 safety. But yeah, going back to Flanagan, top 100 recruit for On3 specifically. Track and field numbers were outstanding in the shot put and javelin or whatever he was doing. It complements his junior film very well. And I think the tight end room, dude, like, got to be Evans last year, you would assume. Or is this his last year of eligibility? Does he maybe have... What's Mitch Evans was what, 2021 class? This is probably his last year, even if he wanted to come back. I can't remember. And then Raridan's really good, but Bauman, you would expect this is last year. Again, with these kids who might have the COVID year, I can't remember anything, but because Bauman's one of the few 2020 class recruits, and then behind him, it's like Larsson. Like Flanagan could come in next year and be your number 2 tight end. Am I crazy, Kyle? Like Raridan, Flanagan, like that very well could be the situation. Well, Flanagan. You got 2 Flanagans. You got Cooper Flanagan, who I love. So James Flanagan, no relation, could slot in number 3 guy next year, which we know at Notre Dame. I guess we'll see under Denbrock how much the number 3 tight end is going to play, but you're going to see the field if you're the number 3 tight end. So those are my 3 names to keep an eye on, Mr. Kelly. What say you?
Yeah, I'm all with you on Blair and especially Flanagan. Flanagan's my favorite player in this class. He is a dude. I got to see him in person up in Green Bay about a year ago at this time, and he's continued to develop. His body looks great. He's an unbelievable athlete. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that they just are not going to be able to keep off the field. The other guy for me that you did not mention is I know if all goes well for Notre Dame this season, they should have both their bookends locked up for the 2025 season as well, unless unless Emil Wagner was to go to the NFL. But I think when Will Black gets on that practice field, if people aren't already talking about him being the next Joe Alt right now, I mean, just wait until next summer. He is a spit image of Joe Alt. That's exactly how Charles Power has compared him on threes, director of scouting and rankings. They're spit images of each other. Joe Alt, I mean, we're talking about possibly the second best 2025 class recruit in the entire country being at Notre Dame next year. I mean, when's the last time you can say that? Like, off the top of my head, I think Dane Chris and Jimmy Clausen, both those guys were like the number one players in their class at quarterback. I don't know if anyone's gotten within the top 5 besides those guys. So I think there's going to be a lot of excitement once Will Black arrives. And, Dallas Golden was a guy that popped into my mind as well. Jayon Blair, I think just his sheer size and athleticism, he's going to really turn some heads next summer at this time as well. But I really do like the question because kind of gives us the ability to pick apart this class a little bit and give Notre Dame fans the reasons why they should still be excited.
Yeah, 100%. The Black one's interesting. I guess we would be talking about him. I kind of contradicted myself, and I was like, okay, here's guys we're going to be talking about. And then I kind of went towards here are guys who were going to be playing as true freshmen. But yeah, Will Black, that's a great shout. I mean, Zachary, again, I kind of shifted more towards who I think will play. I think Mark Zachary's one. Chris Burgess is another interesting one. For me, I'm a bigger Elijah Burris fan than a lot of people are, so it is an interesting discussion. Drew says 85/90. I hope it's higher than that. So Notre Dame is 21 commits. I would guess, just based on history and a little bit from what you hear behind the scenes, if I had to guess right now, I'd say they lose 2, which would mean 19 out of the 21 they have right now signed, which is 90%. So I don't think Notre Dame is going to sign 100% of the guys who are currently committed to them. I think they'll lose 1 or 2. So that's he says that's 2 out of 3 not signing. That's I said 90% of the current class, which is 21. So 90% of them will sign. So if you take 2 from 21, you have 19 to 21. 19 divided by 21 is 90%. So Drew, I don't know what you're talking about, dog. Anyways, Kyle, is there anything else you want to talk about before we end today's show? Anything else on the mind?
Boy, that was better math than I could have put together on the fly. That was impressive.
I did it on my calculator earlier, but Singer isn't good at math. Singer's good at EA College Football 25. Have you been able to play much, Kyle?
I don't even have the system, so I don't have the game. I think my brother might end up getting the system. So I'm hoping to sneak around and maybe play a couple games on that. We'll see. Might be a Christmas present. I don't know, man. Like I kind of told you, I don't know if I said this on the show or in private, but I like to spend my free time golfing and fishing.
Yeah, you're a good dude.
Nothing wrong with
it. Games are for kids, dude. This is so infactual. 5 Adam, you can. Never mind.
I can't wait to see how many video games you're playing in about 3 months.
Very little, very, very little. So I got to get it. Well, I can't. Okay, last thing. Drew says 85 equals 3. not signing 90s too. Okay, so I said 85 to 90, so 90 is 2. I think 1 or
I'm
2.
not
I said
following.
85 or 90. Drew, just chill. Just chill. You're good, dog. All right. Anyways, we're gonna end the show there. If you're just tuning in, we talked about some other stuff. This is, look, it's just a slow time for Notre Dame recruiting, but the things that are happening are just no bueno right now. It's just not a fun time. You get Derek Meadows to LSU, and you get Deuce Knight visiting an SEC school or two in the last week. After I got on a soapbox saying how solid he is, I look like an ass. Sorry about that, but Madden Farimo, USC is starting to look better in that recruitment. It'll be okay, but this is not the most fun time right now, Kyle. So yeah. Kyle got nothing. It'll be okay. It will be okay, but this is just not a fun time at this exact moment. We're going to end the stream there. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. From here, I am going to start editing Jack and Tyler's practice recap video. So make sure you check the Blue and Gold YouTube channel in a few hours, and I'll have that up. And we will be live probably next Thursday. Let me check my to-do list real quick for next Thursday. Actually, we might do Friday, Kyle. TBD. We definitely have to do this show this week because I'm off tomorrow. And then going to Columbia, South Carolina to watch Liverpool Man United play. So that'll be really cool. Watch my first Premier League preseason game. But anyways, we're going to sign off the show there. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. And as always, we will catch you next time.